Well, Declan Rice set to fly back in London to undergo his medical. We're having two contradicting stories, but I don't know how you guys are really going to contemplate them, but I'm going to give you my honest view onto those because John Cross from The Mirror has a different narrative from one of the upcoming Arsenal bloggers known as Oli Informa, who owns one of the biggest Arsenal it's one of the biggest Arsenal Twitter feeds in the world. Welcome to Rokani Media Football. How are you guys? And we're watching us from a group by the names of Rokani David. Welcome to the Arsenal News Show, where we are going to discuss about Nicolas Pepe ready for his Arsenal return. And I don't know whether you guys are really going to welcome him back, but he's ready to come back to talk to Mikel Arteta and make a decision on his future down at the Emirates. So we are really having another story concerning which player. Umtiti has been really, his contract with Barcelona has been really terminated, and he's really one of those players that has turned to be a free agent. Now, let's see close to 400 likes. Smash on this video and don't forget to subscribe. See to it that we hit the 20,000 subscriber mark that we are really targeting by the end of this month of July. Now, let's start it off with John Cross. He's one of the chief football reporters at the Daily Mail. He told us yesterday night that Declan Rice is likely to undergo his medical while on holiday to complete the deal when the two clubs thrash out the final details of the transfer. But it may not happen until the start of next week. We all understand that however much West Ham went ahead to give him green light to do his medical, looks like these two, Arsenal and Declan Rice, have a different plan altogether. And this story is related to how Kai Havertz went ahead and really had his medical, because the Kai Havertz medical was conducted in Spain, and obviously the video to unveil him and everything was done in Spain, meaning that the entire media team of Arsenal traveled down in Spain, shot the lad, and after shooting him, they really had to compile the videos and really upload them when the time of unveiling really came to pass. So as it stands, Jacob Cross is telling us that Declan Rice is really going to find himself in a position of handling or doing his medical away on his holiday. And there is Oli Informa. He's one of the sources I've seen that really have some credible information. He runs one of the busiest Arsenal Twitter feeds known as the As Informa or Arsenal Informa. He has told us that Declan Rice flies back to London today. Once the deal is officially signed off, he will then do the medical and media shoot. Now, why I'm siding with Oli Informa other than Cross is simple. You know how gigantic this deal of Declan Rice is, and if you know what it is, then you know how Arsenal are supposed to go ahead and really unveil him. You can't tell me that Arsenal are going to unveil Declan Rice like they unveil Kai Havertz. This is a big deal, a record-breaking deal that has to be unveiled, like you saw how Arsenal unveiled Gabriel Jesus. You remember? They got a crane, put him on top of the stadium, and really took that shot that really trended and made sense. So Arsenal have a huge plan of unveiling Declan Rice. Trust me, they can't do that mistake. Declan Rice has to fly back to London, right? Undergo his medical in London, then he will do the media shots, interviews, and obviously he needs to be really unveiled while holding that chat with Mikel Arteta. Remember, Arteta is arriving back at London Colney today, so that he prepares the training sessions that are going to be due next week at Arsenal. So Arteta is going to be around, and Arsenal can't make that mistake. Even Declan Rice will like what we call a mega unveiling, not the way Kai Havertz was unveiled lightly. He wouldn't really fancy that. I don't think that it even makes sense for a record-breaking transfer signing of Arsenal to really be unveiled like how Kai Havertz was. You know, it was not catchy. It lacked that touch of really being catchy, according to me. I don't know how you guys found it, because we always like to see the player seated with Edu and or seated in between Edu and Arteta, holding that pen, signing, right? Holding that shirt with Mikel Arteta, you know, having a jazz like you saw Zinchenko, like you saw Gabriel Jesus, Ben White, and so on and so forth. I think that's what you'd like to see every time, not so? So, to me as it stands, it's all set. I understand Declan Rice has to fly back. You know, when duty calls, you don't really have to hesitate because I think he's in Portugal. That's where he's really having his his holidays from. He has to fly back to London, and I think it doesn't even take a lot. He just has to fly back for one day. They do the medical. After doing the medical, they shoot. After shooting, take photos. Even when he goes back to his holiday and returns at the 14th or 13th of July, because he was taking part in the international week with England, 2 games played, and he'll return back and obviously have peace. So to me, I understand it's not going to be done away. It has to be done at London Conley, and I anticipate his photos while arriving at London Conley are going to break internet like those of Gabriel Jesus did, because Gabriel Jesus was the marquee signing of Arsenal last summer, and this time around it's Declan Rice who is the marquee signing of Arsenal this summer. So as it stands, I really understand that it's really going to be huge. They are going to unveil him hugely. I don't anticipate something small that won't really replicate exactly what Arsenal want to get from Declan Rice. Now, West Ham look like they've gone ahead to confirm to us that Declan Rice is out of their team. And when you look at their website, he's nowhere to be seen. He's nowhere to be seen. So these are the shirts of almost the first team of West Ham, and Declan Rice's shirt number 41 is nowhere to be seen, and Rice's jersey is no longer available on the West Ham website, meaning that it's an indicator that they have sold the player to Arsenal, and very soon we might get a here we go from Fabrizio Romano or David Austin coming and revealing to us that a deal has been done and dusted, as Declan Rice no longer appears onto the website of West Ham. So that's another hint that I needed to come through and throw into you onto this channel, because you need to know exactly what this is all about. Now, after Declan Rice, because lots of things have been said about him, and we can't keep talking about him alone. We need to go ahead and really talk about other players as it stands. Let's talk about Nicolas Pepe, loan to Nice, a loan with no option to buy, and he's set to return at Arsenal. But what do you think is running in your mind when you're talking about Declan Rice, right? Declan Rice is one of those, when Nicolas Pepe comes into your mind, he's one of those players that really had a very good breakthrough season with Unai Emery. I remember scoring against my only team, Manchester United. He sat down, looked shocked, cooked him, and cooked and roasted him, every time he went past him. And he looked great. Even in the first spell of Mikel Arteta, the first 6 months, from 2020 January to 2020 May, he had a very good spell. But the start of the season of 2020-2021, Nicolas Pepe never showed up. That's why Mikel Arteta had to get Bukayo Saka and play him as a right attack midfielder, taking over the Ivorian. And now, Nicolas Pepe is going to hate to speak on his future at Arsenal. And these were the words. Coley interview. He said, "I will return to Arsenal. I was loaned without an option to buy, so I have to go back to Arsenal. I don't know yet. When I get back, I'll speak with the coach and everyone and see what everyone's ideas are, and then we will make a decision." So, he's going to speak to Mikel Arteta, Edu, and so on and so forth, to see to it that a decision is communicated to him on whether he's returning to Arsenal or not. But all I understand is his time at Arsenal is over, because he fell out with the manager. Because if you talk about talent, he's talented more than even Bukayo Saka, but the difference is Bukayo Saka played on the orders of the manager. Nicolas Pepe defied the orders of Mikel Arteta, and you've seen how far he has gone ahead to fall off that. He is not that player that he used to be when Arteta came in through, and Arteta likes seeing players that can come in through and obviously do the need for the club, doing things that help the team. But when you look at Nicolas Pepe, his decision making was really bad in the final third. He makes extra touches, he doesn't release his fellow players easily. He likes to entertain himself alone, you know, sit down players. I understand there's a very good talent, swift left foot, cuts inside very well, you know, he skips past defenders very well. He has the energy, he has the pace, but his end product to his game was really lacking. And Mikel Arteta told him, please, I'm not going to see you rot at Arsenal. Let me loan to you at Nice. And he went at Nice and he has not delivered as expected. That's why you are seeing these stories coming around that he's going to see his contract terminated at Arsenal. That is very bad, because if at all they terminate your contract, that means they are just fed up of you. And that has been done to very many players at Arsenal. David Luiz, Mesut Ozil, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Hector Bellerin. So if Arteta feels like he's fed up of you and he doesn't want to really cause friction in between you and him, he just tells the board, terminate his contract and let him go. And the beauty of that is it has gone ahead to work well down for Mikel Arteta and the team of Arsenal, because every player is going ahead to really see his contract terminated. The replacement has gone ahead to put in back into that position of that player is going ahead to work out well. Look at Jesus is working well for Aubameyang. Odegaard is working well for Mesut Ozil. Ben White and Tomiyasu are really working well on the right side for Hector Bellerin. And now it's Nicolas Pepe. For his termination is why Arsenal is going to be saving £140,000 a week that has been earning at Arsenal. Then, even Bukayo Saka has shown him that I can do this job better than you. So it is not well for the player. But all I can let you know is that his contract might be terminated by Arsenal, because they believe even Nice is not willing to cash in for the player that was there for a very, very long time. So let's wait and see when he returns. But I don't see Mikel Arteta wanting him to even fly with them to America. He can fly them with Germany, but in America, I don't think so. He will only like those players that he believes are part of the club of Arsenal to fly with him to America, because he can really do the needful. But I really understand that he can come up through and obviously do something that is really so much shocking. And maybe Mikel Arteta will say, all right, instead of us going in to sign in a right attack midfielder, let's go in and really get in Nicolas Pepe to stay here. But that's going to be hard. And I see that as a hypothetical, right? So let's wait and see how that pans out. But obviously, we anticipate that his contract is going to be really terminated. A mutual consent is going to be reached. And obviously, he'll leave as a free agent. But remember, Unai Emery is still there. He really loves the player. And he might tell Arsenal, please, get me Nicolas Pepe. And remember, towards his loan to Nice, I think at Villarreal, he wanted him. And that means he might want to come in and throw him into that Lionel Bailey position to compete with him at Aston Villa. So let's wait and see how that's going to pan out. If at all he's a free agent, I think very many Premier League clubs will be willing to really get him on. And for Nicolas Pepe, it's high time he found himself into his own shell and rediscovered himself. He's still young, not all that old. He can really find himself back to the levels where he really was. I think by the time he signed at Arsenal, he was like 20, 21 years. Now, 4 years later, it's like 25. He can really turn around these things and obviously turn out into a very brilliant player that Arsenal signed from Lille in 2019 at a record fee of £73 million that Declan Rice is set to break if at all this deal comes to pass, for him crossing from West Ham to Arsenal for £105 million. Now, Fabrizio Romano has confirmed to us that Barcelona have reached an agreement with Samuel Umtiti for termination of the contract. Umtiti available as a free agent. This is the same thing that Arsenal is going to do with Nicolas Pepe. If all goes well, they sit down, they negotiate on the deal, and obviously everything will go on as planned for Manuel Umtiti. And for Umtiti, he was loaned to, there is a certain Italian Serie A side he was playing in for this entire season, because Xavi doesn't fancy him as one of the center backs to play for his team, and he has gone ahead to see his contract terminated. And he's one of those players that has been earning highly at Barcelona, and I think that's another huge salary that has gone ahead to be deducted off the hefty and influxing, all ever fluxing Barcelona wage bill. So he might see himself play for Saudi Arabia clubs, if at all I'm not mistaken, and I won't be shocked to see to it that everything goes on as planned. So your thoughts on to Declan Rice set to fly back for his medical in London? What do you make about it? Do you think he's going to conduct his medical away on holiday, or he's going to fly back to London? Now, what do you make about Nicolas Pepe promising his return at Arsenal to talk to Mikel Arteta and obviously find a final decision on his future at Arsenal? And last, what do you make about Emmanuel Umtiti, now a free agent, his contract terminated by Barcelona? Sign out for now. See you later. I cover you all in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. May the living true God protect you abundantly. I'm out. Ciao, ciao.